Welcome back to the desk, folks. How's it going? Halfway through the day here. I'm Tom Badlinger, joined here by E United's finest. It's still PBM.
The two that carry every game.
Polar Bear,
exactly.
Mike.
The best two in the world.
And Panda Cat. What's good, guys? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, just chilling, watching some good games.
Yeah. These last couple of ones have been really good. We started off the day really hot. NRG taking on Noble, NRG winning that one, NRG toppling Dig as well. And then Elevate 2 in a row, dealing with Team Dignitas and SpaceStation Gaming. Our last one that we just saw was Trifecta taking on Noble. And how do you guys feel about that one?
I really liked the way Trifecta switched up their draft from when they played against us. I thought they played their own style. I think they didn't go for as many unusual picks, and I thought they looked good.
How about you? What'd you see there?
I think that I'm glad that Trifecta stuck to their own game. I'm glad to see the old Trifecta picks out, like the Morgan Naja. It's a typical draft. I'm glad they held that W key down and they didn't play afraid, and they finally drafted some pressure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you guys have played against these guys a number of times, and honestly, the dudes on Trifecta, kind of your boys, right? You guys are really friendly with them. Talk to me about what it's like to play against them during the regular season.
You want to go?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately enough, for me, I didn't get to play against Snoopy during the season. He was absent for whatever reason. I don't remember right now, but it was fun to play against Andinster again. It was a great matchup. The regular season games were pretty great. They were one of our first sets. It was a lot of fun playing against them, and I'm happy I got to play against Snoopy this tournament actually. Like with the absence, obviously. Yeah, they're great people. We've known them for a while. Mike's a little closer with them than I am, but they're all around great people, great sports.
Yeah, I mean, I always like playing against Snoopy and Hurry. They're two of my favorite people outside of the game just to hang out with and talk to, and I'm glad that we got the bragging rights as well. Otherwise, I would have never heard the end of it.
Well, this time we saw Snoopy pick up the Hachiman, but you mentioned Herwin as well. Herwin playing the Morgan.
I love it when he plays that pick. I think that's one of his, because when Hurry plays something like Afro, he can't make calls. Like, he's one of the more vocal people on that team, and he was able to make plays that game. Like, he would transform into Rat. He would be like, we're fighting this, and go in. And I thought he looked good on this fight particularly is what I'm talking about.
You know what was pretty interesting? Here we actually see him, he lands it. We saw a number of times, or at least, I was watching, and Herwin transformed into different picks and didn't really have the impact. Like, he would miss the ult or just wasn't able to really pull it off. But perhaps the call was more important than the actual play.
I think the idea that Herwin finally set aside like him being afraid to go in. He said, "I'm gonna transform. We're gonna go in. We're gonna win this fight." It really gave him a boost of confidence, and they just followed in his path. Whether he missed the ult or hit the ult, everyone was holding their W keys down. Everyone was fighting as a unit.
And you look at the KDA. I mean, he was 4-4. You're like, oh, he didn't really do much. But imagine how much Sino got to go in that game and how much pressure was off of him. In our set, if Sino went in, we killed him instantly, and then nobody else could make plays. Hurry kind of took that pressure off of him.
Ton of damage as well. 4-4. People always look 4-4, but don't forget that 8, right?
Right.
The assists, always a really big part of it. I hate when people forget about
Especially in a low-kill game.
You're a
because that means you're
support.
there for all of them.
Yeah, you're a support.
Yeah.
You're supposed to give credit. But, yeah, exactly. In a low kill game, 12 kills involved Herwin, right? That's a big deal when you look at the total number. And like you said, creating the breathing room for Steiner was a really big deal. And then as we got into the late game, Herwin just sort of said, you know what, forget the ult. I'm just going to be that assassin mage.
I think that plays well into Morgan's kit, the stealth ability, the one that if you don't Aegis the one or if you don't react off a time queue, you can easily get one shot.
Yeah.
And with the fact that he was ahead, he was finally confident. He goes in the back line, gets a nice one shot on Wowie. The fight turns completely.
How well do you guys know Sanoshore? You guys pretty good friends with him? Do you know him well?
I don't really know him that well. I know that he can kind of tilt, and I think he did that versus us. And I think in this game, I think Snoopy even got soloed. I think they got, a couple fights they lost, and he seemed like he was calm the whole way through, so that was a good sign.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, is that Sanoshore in the jungle, when it comes down to it, he looks really hot sometimes,
yeah,
and then other times just kind of falters to the wayside. Whether it's tilt or not, he's just not the most consistent player in the world. But when he's on, and I mean, it's usually with that Naja.
Yeah, he's a Naja main, for sure.
And that's, is that scary having somebody that, because I won't call him a one trick. He does have some other options, but, that Naja is clearly his go-to. I mean, is that something scary, having a guy like that on your team?
I don't think it's something scary. I think it's something you can rely on, too, as a pocket pick. Sometimes people forget, the so-and-so is great at this god, and they don't ban it, and then game 5, he whips it out. Like, Emil's yesterday played Hell, and I know he's a Hell main in, ranked. He plays it in, all day long. And they forget about it, and then he picks out a pocket like that. and they did extremely well. So I think it's a toss-up because sometimes it is scary if a jungler can only play one god, it gets banned out, and then you have to resort to ideas that don't always work. But it can also be great. You know, you have a pocket pick, some people forget about it, and then you bring it out and you win.
Well, I mean, this was Trifecta's one of their first wins this weekend. During the regular season, they also didn't do too hot. But if I look at this roster and I see names like Snoopy, Herwin, Kiki, I mean, Kiki's probably biggest fan. I love this roster, but they don't wind up with the W's. What happened? Why weren't they converting into wins?
I think it's one thing to say that people can play these off-meta picks and these unique picks well, but if you can't play the meta picks at the same level, then you handicap yourself. Like, for example, Kiki can't really play Osiris, and they first banned it versus every game, and it puts you at such a handicap because then you're letting this guy get whatever he wants, you let me get whatever I want, and so on.
Learn the rules before you break the rules.
Yeah, kind of.
So, so you think it was really just the God pool of the team that really prevented them from finding the wins?
Well, Yannick also left him in the beginning of the season, which is rough. You have to rebuild team comps with Aurora. You have to get used to his mentality, his attitude.
Especially when it was Snoopy and Yannick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they played together for so long.
Great friends.
Style differences.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Either way, Trifecta do find their win today, so that is something to be talking about. Like we said, about halfway through the day. Earlier, we started off with some of the European matchups. Well, the mix-in matchups, rather. NRG took on Noble, and then Dig took on NRG. NRG winning both of those. Elevate win 2 in a row versus Dig and SpaceStation. And now Trifecta take on Noble. And that's match 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're moving on to match number 6, which is going to be SpaceStation versus NRG.
This one's huge.
This one's going to be really big. Why do you think it's so huge?
If NRG wins this one, they're pretty much a lock. I mean, everything has to go against their favor, like tiebreakers between other teams. Like, if they win this game, they're pretty much in. And I think if they win this game and Trifecta wins their second game today, I think they actually do clinch completely. I think they were saying earlier.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because we have potentially 16 matches to play. I really don't think we're going to get to all 16. Obviously not today. We continue on during tomorrow's games as well. You know the SpaceStation guys pretty well. Talk to me about what they bring to the table.
I think SpaceStation brings a lot of pure mechanical skill. I think they're all known for being very good individual players. I think at times they struggle to bring that together and to play as a team and as a unit and to play proactive. But I think that if they get a lead, that they can be very dangerous.
And then on the flip side, you and the NRG dudes, you guys are boys.
Yeah, I love NRG. I'm sure as much as the rest of the community does. I've been an NRG fanboy since First Worlds. I met these guys. I've been in almost every LAN with them. Their mechanical talents are beyond, you cannot doubt them no matter what their season is. They can go 0-14 and you still have that little bit of hope, I think it's great that they've won these 2 games, and I'm super excited to see how they fare against SpaceStation. Of course, mechanically blessed players on that team. You have Zap, Jigz, Andy, great players all around, but I hope this is a great game. I don't want to watch any more stomps, I want to watch some good Smite.
I feel you, and I think we're going to get that. I asked you before about Trifecta looking great on paper and not really translating to the battlefield. I feel the same way about SpaceStation. What is it about them that kept them from winning games?
For SpaceStation, I think it's more of just a reactive play style. I think sometimes you'll watch them play in the SPL and they'll stomp teams like, Noble or Vigilant, and because those teams make mistakes and they can punish them for it. When they play against teams like us and we're being proactive and we don't screw up, they're going to be feeling it, and they're going to get behind 5K, and then we just snowball on them.
And then, same damn thing. NRG, great team, etc. Not rocking it during the regular season. What was their issue?
I think they lost their feel, and the meta changed a lot. After winning 2 Worlds, you start to feel like, well, I'm just the best player there is. I don't really care if I play enough or how good the scrim mentality is, how well we play, how we do. You get into this feel, and I think that a lot of teams caught them off guard. I think they were their own worst enemy, though, because, they definitely could have played a lot better, and I think they all know that, and I think they're here to prove it.
And, it was funny because I wasn't buying that at first, the whole, lackadaisical, whatever, we're winning. But then as it kept going, in the spring split, I said, you know what, there might be some unfortunate truth here.
You know what I love and what I missed? I remember in Season 2 Regionals, and that was when they were then Epsilon.
That was Epsilon.
Yeah, they were then Epsilon, and they missed the summer LAN because of iRaffer having a competitive ban or whatever, and that was their first LAN. And I remember being at that LAN, they were 27-1 that split online, and they came to LAN and they were so fired up, they were hyped up, yelling at everyone. I haven't heard them like that since like this LAN, and when they were playing Dig, they tried to tilt Dig. I heard adapting a maniac yell for like 30 seconds straight, killing everyone at fire, and I loved that.
That's exactly where I was going, is that this team is revitalized. You know, iRaffer, all right, Craig is always just going to be...
He's always cheeky.
Yeah, man, I'm just kind of chilling, right? But the other guys can get fired up, and it's been a long time since I've seen that. I don't want to, but I think the word I would use above complacent would be jaded. Just sort of like, yo, we've done this before, right? Like a big deal. But watching these guys here, and I mentioned it to them, and they agreed. Noble was one thing, so they were just making fun of Wubbin.
That was their warm up.
Yeah, they were actually just making fun of Wubbin. But watching them play versus and Skilladon, for what it's worth, but watching them play against Dignitas, iRaffer was just sitting there, and I got the pleasure of sort of watching them do it and talk to them after. iRaffer was just sitting there going, "Are you tilting yet? Are you tilting yet?" Camping them, taunting them, and say, "Yes, you're tilting," and they were just screaming.
I think the most important part, or not the most important part, but a big part of any team at LAN is how loud you can get, but to an extent, like
Sure.
If you can successfully tilt the enemy team without tilting your own team, being too loud, being too annoying, you're already at an upper hand. If I can get the enemy ADC to be annoyed that I'm stealing something, then that blocks their comms, that adds to our comms, and I think NRG definitely have the vocals to do so. They can get inside of Dig's head really easily.
Yeah, and for me, it's so much less about the X's and O's of, hey, we're gonna be angry and yell at you so that you can tilt and we can do better. And for me, it's just seeing this team fired up. I mean, you can see the differences here between the stats season 3 and season 4. A little bit of a fall off. And it's not just for Yammyn. The rest of the squad also kind of saw that. And watching them here, like I said, after their play against Dignitas, I asked them straight up, I was like, yo, like, how you feel after that win? And the routine answer from NRG is just, yeah, man, we come here to win and da-da-da. Nah, I got yelled at. We won, we're the best.
Let's
okay.
go.
Yeah,
like going off.
Yeah, and that's important. I was really, really happy to see that.
I think on your point of them being jaded, I think at the start of the year, they got that feeling of like, oh, online doesn't matter, we'll get to LAN, and then, people are going to be afraid of NRG on LAN. But I think then we had teams like Rival play really well on LAN. We have Elevate this LAN play really well on LAN. Obey, was insane basically all this year after Worlds and stuff.
Summer Dig went nuts.
Yeah, Summer Dig as well, of course. So now there's competition for them at LAN. They don't have that intimidation factor anymore. And I think now they're back to where they were at Season 2 when I brought that up, that they got to start getting people's heads. Like, people used to be afraid of playing Adapting. Like, you did not want to play against him. If it Adapting had got a First Blood, the game is over. And now they're trying to get that back.
I think a big part of it, and it's no slight to Dimmy. Dimmy was a great player and a great guy.
But he's quiet.
And maniaKK is the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, I think adding him had something to do with it.
I think, stealing maniaKK away from Obey, stealing, not stealing, whatever it might be, but maniaKK, he's a amazing solo laner. He took a break before. People thought he was out, but then he comes back. He has great performances for every team, and he's super vocal. He's really loud in the arena. He's getting into everyone's head. He's just a great guy.
I love him. I love this dude when he was playing back with Reels in that squad, whether they were SK or Fnatic, either or. And maniaKK is, like you said, fantastic in-game, fantastic out-of-game. He's the type of teammate that you want in both scenarios, and I think he fits really well with his NRG squad. Partially because, talking about that sort of like jaded atmosphere, maniaKK was the guy that got really close. He worked with one of the better players in the game, Reels, but never actually won something.
They never took that next step.
Yeah, so now you have that hungry player as well.
Right, yeah, and I mean, it's kind of funny. He almost follows their timeline, right? Like, maniaKK in the start of spring season 3, right? That Fnatic team was like 7 seed. They didn't do well. His last success was at regionals, basically. And then he kind of took away, and he wasn't really revitalized. He didn't have that kind of aggressive, like, yelling at people. And now it's like sort of the same with NRG. They had that boot camp. They seem like they're getting along well, and they're all fired up.
Yeah, it's really fun. And last thing I want to note, because I know you're a guy that appreciates sort of the front office sports side of things. How about that move? Because Xayah came out of nowhere. Nobody knew that Obey would grab Xayah, but taking maniaKK when you already had an established solo laner?
Well, I mean, on paper, that's like a genius move because, like, you look at Obey as throughout the year, them and Dig were clear 1-2 in not just Europe but the world.
Yeah.
So you're taking one team down a step, theoretically, and then you help yourself. But Zelia played lights out as well.
Yeah, surprise pick from Zelia. If he had not shown up, who knows what would have happened here for for NRG. But either way, now fully intact. maniaKK in that solo lane, going head to head with SpaceStation Gaming, who have the first selection here. Any anticipation on the bans?
Something interesting I thought here, sorry Panda, was that in all these other games, the styles were kind of different. Like Elevate, completely unique style. In this game, both Yammyn and Andy have played a lot of Soul. Both supports have prioritized Fafnir very highly. Both the ADCs love Hou-Yi. Like there's a lot of the very same picks in this.
Even in the jungle, you're going to see, I think Thor might be contested.
I mean, all across the board, Osiris and Chulainn and Solo as well. Like all of these god pools are very, very similar.
I agree. I think a lot of these teams play the same picks, or not the same picks, but the same concept. Early pressure into a great team fight, into a lead. Everyone likes to play off of one another, so I think a lot of these picks are going to be contested. I wouldn't be surprised to see some Hou-Yi bans, AMC bans, whatever it might be, get people off of the comforts.
Well, the RDO is going to be banned first and foremost. SpaceStation Gaming, a little bit of afraid. NRG does have that in their wheelhouse, but they don't always go to it.
Yeah, I actually think something that's interesting here is that because there's a lot of contested picks, normally that second side can kind of trade up, because if all the picks are like about even and everybody plays anything, like what's the clear first pick in this draft? Like I don't think there's any clear like number one broken god that you can't let through sort of thing. So because of that, it's going to be really interesting to see if NRG kind of does a couple target bans like Fafnir and then tries to trade up on the second side and get kind of a 2-for-1 sort of deal.
I think SpaceStation, I would like to see SpaceStation prioritize Homiefe's pick, but I think they're going to prioritize an AMC. That's what we've seen so far this weekend.
You think they first pick like one of AMC or Hou-Yi or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, they've really leaned on those hunters.
Well, it's important to get that pressure, and AMC is probably just the best god for pressure. There's no way you can contest AMC pressure. He just fits right in perfectly. And we see they take away Kabrakan from NRG, and I'm not surprised. The EU meta has been triple Guardian, double Hunter, and I don't think they want to deal with that.
And, not for nothing, Kabrakan's also one of maniaKK's just most comfortable selections.
Yeah, and even when it hasn't been the triple Guardian, it's always been double auto attackers and something like a Soul, for example. I wouldn't be surprised if both Hunters are open right now, like they are, the AMC and the Hou-Yi. I wouldn't leave a Soul up here because then SSG could pick the Soul and then still trade the Hunters, and then you lose pressure if you're NRG.
Yeah, the Soul Soul is such a dynamic character because I don't think Soul in a vacuum is the best character in the game, but what she allows you to do with your draft is untouchable. You have two characters, assuming you have a Hunter as well, that are just going to siege objectives, siege the towers, and she becomes so fantastic.
Especially if you hit everything on her. Like if you hit all the auto attacks and keep your heat stacked, then she can be nuts.
Exactly. That's really the key there. NRG looking for their second and final ban of the first phase.
Taking a long time for this.
Yeah. And I expect all of this. Ratatasker, I like that. I expect all of these picks and bans to go down to the wire.
I actually kind of am surprised by the rat ban because Homie is notorious for, even when there was rat metas, like last fall, he never really played it much. He's not really a rat player. He prefers other stuff like Thor and so on. So I'm kind of surprised that NRG went to ban that out.
I think has Scary played the rat ever?
Not since like Worlds, I don't think.
Not since like last year Worlds. I mean, the same could be said about the Vamana that we saw, just before.
Right.
So, it's gonna be the Chulainn, which might have been the smarter ban. Either way.
I think they just sold Hou-Yi here.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure they just sold Hou-Yi and then they third pick, maybe Osiris or something. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
taking away the Soul from Andinster is big. He played it, I think almost every game versus Luminosity on Wednesday, and he did a spectacular job.
Yeah.
He might not have won every game, but I don't think any of those games were Andy's fault. He played well. The highlights we saw, they're great. So I wouldn't be surprised that NRG take away Soul and then one of the auto attackers between AMC and Hou-Yi.
That's one of the things with SpaceStation Gaming is I think you can look at the tape from the entire season, and SpaceStation wind up finding losses in Andinster have nothing to do with it. So the AMC, like we talked about, is going to be taken away from SpaceStation Gaming. I think that's a really good move from NRG and the Osiris as well.
That's interesting as well because that is kind of the alternative of what I was saying, where the picks that I had mentioned, the Soul Hou-Yi, they give you pressure, but it's not level 1 pressure. Like Osiris AMC are that level 1 pressure to fight and clear the waves. So that's telling me that NRG really wants to set up like good snowball.
Yeah, Osiris, one of the more devastating level 1 characters to deal with in the game. Sylvanus, Maybe not so much. Raijin, though, definitely a potent level 1 character for
Yeah, that
sure.
seems to be Andy's #1 mage. I think he's picked it every game that it wasn't banned, and then it would be Sol after that.
I think they're going for a kill AMC comp here. That's
Yeah.
just a typical Sylvanus route
Especially
without
if he
beads
goes
and you're
blink
just dead.
first item.
Yep, and that's a pretty easy way to cancel out the pressure. You know, you don't have any pressure if you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, AMC,
Nice one,
pressure,
Sherlock.
short. You know, if you win the game, you don't lose the game.
I'm not wrong.
Serqet going to be selected here next to AMC, but emilitoo for the longest time was, don't pick him, he dies too easy. And now, that's not the case. What's the biggest deal that has allowed AMC to successfully be in the meta?
I think that
yeah,
AMC, he still dies just as easy as he did before. There's no, he didn't get health buffs. You don't build tanky on him. He's the same hunter that he was last season, the season before that. So
Are people just not focusing on killing him?
I don't think it's that. I don't think people are that afraid of being killed. I think it's more like, if we get pressure, when will they ever be in the position to kill me? If you're ahead, you're usually the one on the front foot. You're the one engaging. So dying would be more you being out of position, not the god.
Can't the jungler just gank you forever?
No, because this meta is really farm and invasive intensive. So the jungler rotating over to me to kill me, I'll take the death. If you get their speed, their blue, their backs, that's a kill split between 2, and my jungle gets their whole jungle, and we should win off that.
Well, especially now, because I was going to say it's kind of like a Devo Gauntlets meta. Like, in the past, we haven't really seen that. We've seen, like, Iqbal, Aussie type stuff. So even if the AMC got pressure, he couldn't outbox you. But now he's going to outbox you. He can kind of sit there, and it doesn't matter if he's immobile, if he's out trading you.
That makes a lot of sense. AMC able to heal himself up even if he does get attacked, and NRG just staring at Zapman.
I like both of those
I
bands.
love
a
these
lot.
bands.
Yeah, I think all 4 of those bands were perfect.
And yeah, all 4 of these bands were absolutely perfect, and I think this really comes and shows that, like, SSG and NRG during the regular season might not have had the, if you're newer to Smite, you might look at the win-loss and go like, I thought these teams were supposed to be good, but you sort of put on your reading glasses and look at the picks and bans, and you know these guys are smart.
I'm not sure what Yammyn plays here. Like, he could do like a throwback thing where they try to set up adapting to like get ahead and gank and try to do like a Janus or something. I don't know if he plays Poseidon. He hasn't really had he's normally top 3'd in all the games they've played recently, so I don't know what he goes to.
Is there an issue with playing 4 physical in your mind?
With their comp, yes.
Okay.
I think that Yammyn has something in his books. You could see that they 4th pick Ganesha instead of 4th
Oh,
mage.
they could do Chronos and put the AMC in mid.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Emo is notorious for
Yeah.
Chronos. He does have the NRG Chronos skin from that Worlds game.
I think Chronos is absolutely a valid pick, whether it's for Emil or Yammyn.
Yeah.
Actually, that's an interesting pick for them, because I don't really think SpaceStation can kill it. Like a Sylvanus initiation, you can kind of rewind. I don't think
Rewind
Raijin
in
can
the
kill you
middle.
before you get that off.
No, that's the nice thing about having the answer to the lack of burst. The Homiefe will come out. Camazotz and the Jing wave for Zapman. 2 gods that those guys are very
I like the
comfortable
Jing wave pick a lot, because adapting on Serqet is probably going to look to get kills off these side lanes, and now he just cut the options in half now. Adapting's going to have to play off maniaKK.
I think that Jingwei is great. A lot of lane games are more slow paced. They're not all gas pedal, and Jingwei is one of the best gods in the late game. You just farm up, you farm those backs off flying, and you just get naturally ahead of their ADC, and I think Zap is super comfortable on it. And alongside, they have the Camazotz. Camazotz is amazing versus AMC. You know, you jump in the lane, you hit him with a 2 and a 1, and he should just be dead.
Chronos, baby, called it.
There it is. We all knew it was going to be the Chronos, and he comes through in the clutch. NRG with their own skin comes through. Chronos, very, very interesting. And that's Badja. Badja, the old support, friends with maniaKK from once upon a time, playing on the SK and Fnatic teams. He's been their coach for a little while, and you know, it's interesting. Badja, not really the #1 guy that comes to mind when I think of players transitioning to the coach role, but he seems to have been really helping NRG out.
I think for team environment as well, knowing maniaKK, helping him transition in that, I think he's a good friend of everyone. He's a good dude, so makes sense to me.
SSG versus NRG. I mean, these drafts look really nice on both sides, but I'm going to make you pick.
I like NRG's comp. I think it fits their style perfectly.
I think NRG takes this one.
You know what? I really got to agree. I think the composition's perfect. I think the team is ready to go, and I think they're hot as hell. Right now, we've got casters that are just as hot. It's Hindu, and it's Ryan.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you, Desk, as well. Quick announcement as well. hi-rez tickets are sold out. So
GG.
you're an idiot if you've not got one yet.
Yeah, you messed
Although
up.
you can go at the Coke theaters.
That's
maybe.
true. The local Coke theaters, it's a really fun time. I had a lot of family members go in my area, and they had a blast. So it's definitely worth going to.
You didn't get them tickets?
No, dude, they didn't want to come all the way down just to see me.
That's a good
It wasn't.
point.
It wasn't worth it.
I want to go in game. Let's get into game and see. I want to go into you either, that's to be fair. But this is a big one. NRG up 2-0 so far in terms of the group stages. They've already taken on Noble and then also beaten Dignitas. Now they're against SpaceStation, and SpaceStation currently 0-1 after their loss to Elevate.
I'm not sure there's a team on Earth I would want to avoid more than an NRG who's on a roll. I mean, good luck to SpaceStation in this one. And you know what? You and I were talking before the game started that we were very disappointed in SpaceStation's picks and bans in their game up against Elevate. This game, I feel like they did much better in the picks and bans. I like the direction that their composition went. But NRG just did better in my mind. I mean, the Chronos pick that PBM called was really, really good. The Serqet right after the Sylvanus pick is one of Adapting's comfort picks and does so well to shut down that Sylvanus early. NRG just looks great right now.
And then the thing is, though, you've still got your magical for NRG, even though they focus on Sol. They try to take that one away as well as the Morrigan. So what ends up happening? Yammyn takes the B, and emilitoo goes with the Chronos here. You can't really ban them out, but you can only force them into certain roles. And the question is, did SpaceStation expect this Chronos?
Well, Homie and Scary might not have expected Adapting and maniaKK to play so aggressive on this right-hand side. Serqet Osiris not the best at level 1. Still good enough to try and take the fight.
Curse for curse, and actually it's a bit of a win trade there for NRG, just because there's minions left in the lane. Good news is, though, Andy and Jigz there on the defense, but they're going to be taken on against 4. They're going to have to back out here as Andy takes a lot more than he bargained for, adapting with the blink, and now Jigz is body blocked to death. The tree may just be about to escape because emilitoo does not have another cooldown available.
Close call there for SpaceStation, almost losing 2, but they still lost Andinster for first blood, and that's just the power of AMC in the mid lane, man. That's all what it's all about, that push power, try and get towards that speed buff first.
Oh no, it's getting worse for SpaceStation already. They will get the blue buff on the right-hand side, but Zapman wasn't able to pick up that red buff on the side. emilitoo steals it away. Now he's going to look for the purple buff. There's not much Zap can do about this, especially with iRaffer sitting in lane 2.
Now, the good news for SpaceStation is they got both buffs on the right-hand side to go their way because maniaKK was only sitting at level 1, meaning that NRG couldn't really come in and fight that. But if NRG can try and get the push power here, might be able to try and push on those other side buffs that belong to SpaceStation.
Adapts under a bit of pressure. Does get kissed off onto Scary D just to try and slow that down for a second. The poke won't matter too much. The good news, I guess, is their own jungle is still up. So you're right, NRG. They didn't manage to steal the buffs. They just got that first blood kill. It went to Adapting, though, which is a Serqet, and something you don't want to do in the early game. Give Serqet an extra edge on hitting that level 5.
I don't want to give emilitoo an extra edge to getting any sort of lead in that duo lane with Chronos. I mean, he got both buffs on the left-hand side. He was able to solo down purple. Soloing a buff early is such a big boost of experience and gold. I mean, getting an invade with one other person is so big. Then you kind of take away that split, and all of a sudden you're sitting up by quite a bit of extra golden experience. So emilitoo getting those buffs on the left-hand side and the oracles with iRaffer's help is going to be a problem for SpaceStation.
So pressure on the right-hand side here, going to allow Homiefe to start rotating around, but he's not going to go too far. He's looking to actually continue the pressure on maniaKK. Andy and Jigz will be in the mid lane with Yammyn and Adapting. So they're leaving Zapman TV1, and that's a Jing way. He can kind of deal with that.
I mean, we saw what Ataraxia was able to do in a 2v1 scenario where he lost his dual lane tower, 3-4 minutes in, up against Elevate, and he was just fine. He ended up getting an experience lead not too long after that, about 10 or 11 minutes in. All of a sudden, he was in the XP lead because of how valuable getting waves all by yourself can be. And Jing Wei is so safe that even in a 2v1, you really shouldn't be dying.
Interesting decision here to see Homiefe trying to zone maniaKK off some experience. It forces Adapting for a rotation now, just to relinquish a little bit of that pressure, because maniaKK needs that level 5 to feel a little bit safer.
And Homie is going to be a big key to SpaceStation's success in this one. I mean, the Thanatos game up against Elevate left something to be desired. We'll put it that way. It was not clean, and Camazotz is not one of those gods that you want to play when you're not hitting your skill shots. If Homie can get off to a roll and play aggressive and be that proactive jungler, then it could be SpaceStation sneaking one away here from NRG.
Scary D going to use his ultimate there and transform and look for a bit more pressure, but Adapting will just jump away back to safety. Looking through the builds, Andinster starting off with the not Book of Top, I should say, the Warlock Sash Rush. something that's been a bit more different than recent. Is that because of the changes to Warlock Slash more than anything else, or is it the meta?
It's helpful. It's both. It's a combination of both, and that the mid lane meta has been kind of dominated by picks that can go later game, and unless you're playing something like an AMC in the mid lane. I mean, we saw so much Thoth this weekend, and that's a late game oriented pick. It's early game junglers with later game mages, and if you're left alone and left to farm a lot, then you can get those Warlock Sash stacks early on and make an impact in the mid game a little bit earlier while still being nice and healthy.
Another small win there for NRG. Blink used by adapting in trade of Andinster's beads, as well as he was just looking to contest those right-hand harpies. So that means he's going to play a little bit more defensively once more. Keeping an eye on itemization again. iRaffer there going for the full gold generation in terms of itemization here, whereas Jigz a little bit further behind just with the Watcher's Gift and the tank boots.
I like the tank boots pickup here for Jigz, though. I mean, he is going to be the focus for NRG, and there's plenty of dot damage that can be reduced by those tank boots passive. I mean, I'm looking at the bees for Yammyn. Adapting's ultimate is true damage, but it's going to stack up the stacks so that everything else damage-wise that Jigz is going to be taking will be reduced by those protections from the tank boots. Wise decision from Jigz, knowing that he's going to be the primary focus for NRG in the early game.
But we also see Jigz, Homiefe, and of course Scary D. They're grouping up for the speed buff, sending 3 men to make sure that speed buff isn't contested by NRG this time round, who were more focused on getting their own, and also the oracles on the left-hand side. But it does allow SpaceStation to continue the pressure on the right. That's where Homiefe has been spending most of his time so far.
Yeah, and Homie had an experienced lead not long ago. He was actually up a little bit on adapting because of how many buffs that he was able to strip away on the right-hand side on that first spawn, as we touched on. But now it's adapting with the slight XP lead, and some of that is because he's splitting these mid waves with Yammyn there on the AMC. But the Oracle control, the mid camp control, he's been grouping up a little bit more with his team and splitting that farm a little bit more effectively, and that's why Homie has lost that experience lead earlier.
And also so far, Andinster's just a little bit further behind in terms of experience over Yammyn. You can see he's just behind the rest of his team in experience right now. But that was down to the first blood. Best news though, the Warlock Slash is online and stacking up to 11 stacks. And at this stage of the game, Aggro, getting online that early means by around the mid-game, it will be at full stacks.
Exactly. This is a really good pacing for Andinster to be on. A little bit behind the next P, but that's not as big of a deal. As long as he can stay safe for the next 35 seconds or so, wait for those purification beads to come up and get those boots going. As soon as Andy finishes pen boots, he's going to be tanky, he's going to be mobile, he's going to be doing plenty of damage.
Blinking, and there's no beads this time. Andinster, the silence is making sure he can't get the drums out, but he will get away. It's Jigz turned on instead, and he's already dead. Yammyn in a lot of trouble, and the final sweep from Homie could kill him and will, but now Homie's in a bit of a tricky spot himself. Luckily enough, though, NRG going to back away, 1-for-1 trade, support for mid laner.
Now it's emilitoo in a bit of trouble here. He's completely out of mana, and Zap might be able to continue this chase. Yeah, Zap going to dash in with that agility. The juke's not really working so far for emilitoo.
Oh, that'll work as well with the airstrike coming in now. Homiefe around the corner can pick up the pieces if required and will do so. They would have loved that to go to Zapman, but a kill is a kill. And then they're on the board and evening things up.
That was unfortunate for NRG in the mid lane. I think adapting actually got the wrong target there with the last breath. Looking to CC chain Andinster down with his purification beads down, I think was the call, though it could make sense to just go for the Sylvanus. I mean, shut down that healing, throw him in the thick of things, but you're just kind of giving Jigz a free initiation
if
in
anything,
that situation.
I feel Homiefe turning up there just at that right moment when they were initiating actually just threw a curveball for NRG that they weren't expecting. They knew Jigz was there, they knew Andy was there, and Homie just turned up at the right time, which allowed it to turn around.
Scary might have to take a 2v1 here because adapting has shown up, but no ultimate available quite yet for adapting, and Scary's got quite a lead for himself over here in the solo lane. He's up about a level and a half over maniaKK, and going back again to that first buff invade on the right-hand side going SpaceStation's way, and the fire elementals have consistently gone towards SpaceStation.
The first speed, the first blue, and the fire elementals. Raph is in a bit of trouble here, looking to try and get away, and will use his ultimate defensively to make sure he doesn't get caught out by SpaceStation, who are making a nice little rotation looking for a pick. They will only find the left-hand harpies, however, and I love the idea of Scary D soloing the speed just to make sure that it's not being left up when you know Homiefe is on the other side of the map.
It allows Homie to stay over here, make sure that Oracles goes SpaceStation's way, and it just continues to grow that lead for Scary D in the solo lane. maniaKK's not going to be able to solo down a speed buff anytime soon, likely, because adapting is going to be over there, so this allows Scary to continue to get a lead. Now, in this lane, Scary's not going to be able to solo maniaKK. maniaKK is too well seasoned to know that he's going to be in danger of that with how far ahead Scary D is. So Scary needs to try and rotate and make this impact in the mid lane. AMC is food for a fed Chulainn, and that is just a free dinner for Scary D if he can make the rotation.
And that's going to be the big key, is protecting Yammyn and this AMC in the mid lane. There's a lot of picks here that SpaceStation have that can cause a lot of problems for the AMC. Already, you've seen Yammyn take a tumble down to Homiefe on the Camazotz, which the desk was even saying is a great opportunity for Camazotz to get kills. And then again, you just mentioned the Chulainn, so 2 prime opportunities to get to that B.
And it's Yammyn who's got to be cognizant of that and position accordingly. And that's why I like his Aegis selection. Not a lot of ranged hard CC coming out of SpaceStation, though. Does have to be wary. Jigz should really just be looking for root into pull onto Yammyn every single time, because he's got no way out of it if Jigz can be accurate.
Well, we're going to get 3-on-3 in the mid lane for the time being. A bit of old classic Smite. Adaption's going to change that, though, by engaging on Jigz, whose ultimate will not be useful, and he's already dead. Adaption taking a lot of damage from the drums, but not really enough to bring down a kill. Andinster choosing for control, I guess, there over the actual damage output at this point.
Homie just tries to go into the back line and prevent the rest of Energy from following up onto Jigz, but problem is that Adapting does enough damage by himself to bring Jigz down. He doesn't really need any help from Yammyn or iRaffer. Homie instead, I think, should have just been on top of Adapting and try and bring him down in response. If you trade support for jungler, that's in SpaceStation's favor. Instead, Jigz gets picked off and Adapting gets low, but not quite enough to bring him down.
It's a nice kill for Energy, but at the end of the day, it is on a support Sylvanus, and we've seen when Sylvanuses do get focused, even mid to late game, it doesn't matter too much. They're still going to bring the same thing to the table. If anything, it's just going to keep him behind an experience, which will be an impact.
And he's down 2 levels already to iRaffer, who's been hanging around this mid lane quite a bit. Nice play there by Adapting to make sure that he can get those right side mid camps going Energy's way, and he's done a good job of that so far this game. That's been a big reason why Andinster is a little bit behind in the mid lane to Yammyn. It's just been mid camp control going Energy's way.
Well, you can see Energy setting up around this left-hand side here towards the red buff area. Now emilitoo swinging around towards red, cutting off Zapman, but emilitoo's going to be careful about being pinched himself. Now Ganesha going to be the leader in, keeping an eye on this red buff. Support again from emilitoo. Won't be there in time, however, so they will have to relinquish that. And emilitoo's going to be a bit careful about that buff, but he did strip it away just in time.
Man, that did not take him long at all to strip that one away. He got that very quickly. Is already working on a ring there to get himself some extra magical power, that extra movement speed as well, and then he can kind of transition that well into the mid to late game.
Adapting did secure his own speed there just in time before Scary D came over. Looking for a bit of a cheeky invade, like he asked for. Scary D trying to punish this lane a little bit more, knowing that he can't kill the Osiris.
He actually used the blink there to make sure that he could try and close the gap, but still wasn't quite able to find it. Sitting up a level and a half, 2 levels over maniaKK, and that's not where you want your Osiris to be. Osiris is there to really win at this exact stage of the game. Early game, other gods can kind of take it to Osiris a little bit, but by the time you max out your 1 and your 2, it's really hard to out-trade an Osiris, and the fact that Scary D is continuing to do so is a good sign for SpaceStation.
I'm talking a little bit more about those solo laners. I mean, just on a straight-up matchup with no input there, is that relatively even between the two, a Chulainn versus an Osiris?
I mean, whoever gets a lead is going to have a really easy time in that lane to try and be aggressive, because Chulainn can just use his abilities and clear the wave very, very quickly and try and put some poke onto the Osiris at the same time. Plus that Vent Anger, just putting out consistent AoE damage around him, making sure that he's going to be at least doing some to maniaKK at once. And Scary's actually used this lead that he's gotten for himself and rushed straight into a Mystical Mail instead of going for the Gladiator Shield that we used to see. And I love this call from him. He's not worried about getting outboxed because of maniaKK's Gladiator Shield, because maniaKK can't box him anyways. So now this power item, I mean, look at how much damage Scary does to maniaKK just by using his 2 in conjunction with that Mystical Mail aura. Now Scary can go for a Gladiator Shield afterwards. He's not going to have that slow sort of lull in his power spikes because of going for Glad Shield into Mystical Mail. Now as soon as he rotates into the team fight, he's doing more damage than just about anyone on Energy can handle.
The game's been a bit patient for a moment or two here, and no real surprise because of how close it's been in these engagements. Pretty much tit for tat every single time. Adapting goes in again, looking at Jigz, and he's a little bit premature this time with that ultimate. Better so, because Yammyn surrounded him. The swoop will secure a kill, still 1 for 1, but Scary turns up to the fight.
Quick leap there from Adapting. emilitoo getting met by Zapman in the jungle. Aggressive beads from Zap, who's going to continue the chase.
And now emilitoo forced out there. Didn't panic panic too much, but I love what Zap's doing. Clearly, SpaceStation knew that the moment NRG engaged, they're going to go for the counter. Zap immediately rotated there as well to make sure that Emil doesn't do what he likes to do from the Hunter role and make sure he turns up to those team fights and make it a more, a man advantage every single time.
Man, aggressive Zapman just feels right. I mean, seeing Zap beads aggressively and continue to dash in, I mean, that's who Zapman really built his name around, and I love to see that style of play from him. And honestly, SpaceStation needs it. I mean, we talked a lot on the desk about how SpaceStation is a very reactive team. They aren't a team that's going to force you into spots. They wait for you to make a mistake. And against a team like NRG, who it just isn't going to make many mistakes, that's not going to work out more often than not. So seeing Zap be aggressive, seeing Homie be aggressive in the right spots is a really good sign from SpaceStation.
It's always funny because when you look at SpaceStation, it's like some of the old teams of days gone by. When you look at them, you go, that is a super team. They are high-level players, each of them, well known for their roles that they play. The problem is that they've not found that core, that grouping, that synergy that's required to really establish yourself as a super team.
And it's just... I mean, maybe it's just a personal preference of mine with play style, but I like teams that are forcing other squads into bad positions and want to make you fight them, and they're rotating around the map in an aggressive manner. SpaceStation is a pure counter-punch team. Jigz has Blink in case there's a really good situation for him to Blink engage into, but every fight we've seen in mid lane has started off how? It's adapting, blinking in and starting the engagements, and then SpaceStation take the Q and take the fight from there. SpaceStation is not going to be able to counterpunch against these top-tier teams because top-tier teams just don't make that many mistakes.
Well, left-hand side, you saw a bit of a grouping. Both Homiefe and Adapting had the same idea to put a bit of pressure onto the left-hand side. Only still Homiefe around here now. It was Adapting and Ganesha that turned up there first for a moment, which tells me that emilitoo's like, listen, I can't really do much about Zap. He's also not letting me do much, so how about some ganks here instead? Because it doesn't seem to be working as well as we hoped in the mid lane.
Plus, Zap doesn't have his beads. Is Scary going to use the horrific emblem? maniaKK going to respond with one of his own, but maniaK's the one losing the trade.
Still got ultimate, though, but did use his curse as well. Got to be careful of those minions and be a bit more respectful. Adapting now on the rotation should be a sign for Scary to be like, okay, not much I could do here, but maybe the all-in could be good enough. One side from maniaKK, and maniaKK going to go in with a trade and win it. Thanks to all Adapting's work more often than not. Free kill, Scary falls down. Energy climb to 5.
Scary's bad tendencies rear their head once again, just being too aggressive in that lane. Yeah, he was winning it, but that XP lead that he had, gone. maniaKK's evened it up now, and Adapting just takes advantage. Classic energy, baiting themselves and allowing their teammates to come in and finish up.
emilitoo against Zapman, and Zapman showing his own juke boots that emilitoo was trying to show earlier on. Gold Fury pulled though, knowing they've got a man advantage without Scary D, but Osiris isn't even in this fight though. emilitoo, awkward position, has to rewind, but he's going to end up right back in dangerous territory.
Good damage on the Zapman, though, forces out his beads, and now using that extra movement speed from the Hasten Ring, actually pulls Homie into a bad spot.
And the Stinger came out from Yammyn, which got responded in tow straight away by Homiefe with the bat out of hell. But still, Energy win that fight, forcing Zap back. It is, after all, a Jing way, so he should be okay to get back soon. But that doesn't stop Energy from going for this Gold Fury.
maniaKK's already here, and he can tank up this Gold Fury without much issue. Jigz and Andinster are the first ones in, and he's got both relics and his ult, but just doesn't want to commit.
Jig's going to get pressured. He's just trying to give vision for his team, and instead he'll give him vision of the fountain. That's all that'll be available for him. Scary turns up, though. Nice blink. Going to hit 3, but the Aegis from Yammyn prevents the damage. Yammyn being the focal point, and that's why maniaKK's on peel duty. Andy would like emilitoo, though, knowing that he's got no ultimate or mana.
Aggressive beads there from Andy. He knew if he found the slow there on emilitoo, it would have been enough damage in that CC to put him into a really bad spot, but was just inaccurate with the 2-1 combo. SpaceStation lose their support. That was a great kind of reinitiation from Scary D, hitting 3 members with that knockup, forced out the Aegis from Yammyn as well, but just not enough follow-up off of it, and Jigz just too far forward there. And again, that's SpaceStation just kind of hesitating on whether or not they can go in to stop that Gold Fury. Jigz goes in and dies intentionally to buy the rest of SpaceStation some time, but they aren't really able to get anything off the back of it.
Well, the one thing that generally happens now, we've noticed a little bit more in this season, is that these Gold Fury fights, once a person goes down, they may just fall back and be like, okay, we got to kill. That'll do. We don't try and fully commit and end the game or force the Gold Fury in a 4v5. They still respect that SpaceStation were around there. More and more teams are realizing that. They're just getting the free pick. Can be quite useful.
Teams are getting really, really good, man. I mean, every single lane, the level of play seems to rise, and that's what's so exciting about Smite Esports right now is that the dominant Dignitas from the summer, yeah, exactly. They haven't won a game. yet. And,
So far.
and a lot of it is because of the level of play that other teams have brought.
I think it's 7 games in a row they've not won if we factor in the Obey set as well, right?
Yeah, from the end of the regular season, they've struggled as of late. There's no doubt about it.
Well, they're not technically dead just yet, but they are on their last legs.
They're drowning.
And SpaceStation, they need a big win here after falling down to Elevate earlier on. NRG secure this one. 4's a soft cap. If you get 4 wins in this group, you're kind of softly in to hi-rez Expo based off how other games go.
It basically guarantees you at least a tiebreaker scenario, and then you have your own fate in your own hands. If you lose 2 or 3 games, you're immediately in a situation where you've got to be scoreboard watching, basically, looking at what other teams are doing, and Dignitas is certainly in that realm right now.
Well, they'll be hoping maybe SpaceStation can get something out of this against NRG to keep them on the back foot, and also SpaceStation fans will be doing the same thing, because without this one, this is going to be detrimental for them too. But NRG going to start the Gold Fury again. Adapting will be the one going aggressive when he can with the blink straight towards Andinster, and Andinster's committed heavily on who's pulled back into danger. Can jump away, but the poison spreads to Jigz and Zapman, and now the whole crew of SpaceStation have to run away to wait for that to wear off. They can still potentially stop this Gold Fury though.
Man, that was such a good ult from iRaffer. Put the walls right on top of Andy. Gold Fury getting pretty low here, and Homie trying to get in there, but NRG is going to secure the Gold Fury, and SpaceStation can't do nothing about it.
I know it's what NRG do straight afterwards. No messing around, no going for the kills. We'll just walk away. We got exactly what we needed there. No point in hanging around. I wouldn't be surprised, Aggro, to see them look to repeat that sooner rather than later at the Portal Demon.
Now, knowing that Andinster's Aegis is down, that's another aggressive opportunity for NRG. Andy was the focus there because his beads were down from that aggressive attempt to try and kill emilitoo on the back of that last Gold Fury pull, remember? So that's just good relic recognition from NRG. This definitely reminds me of the NRG of old. A little bit of a difference where it's less of Dimmy and iRaffer initiating and more of adapting, taking that initiation role and allowing guys like emilitoo and Yammyn to be the follow-up for him instead of where it used to be adapting, comes in and cleans up all the kills and gets all the hype for himself. Now he's kind of taking a back seat and allowing guys like Emil to take the forefront.
Right inside, Scary D was really trying to force this tier 1 tower, and I think that's just going to cost him his life now because adapting's here, Yammyn's here too. He will rage out very, very soon, and the rotation from Homiefe will keep adapting busy. Scary D, though, looking to keep the pressure on a little bit using that rage form. His teammates were on the way round, but with adapting spotting it out, actually Scary can just walk away.
Decent damage there from Scary. Still had both relics available, but neither of his relics are thorns, and against 2 auto attack characters such as AMC and Chronos, a little bit surprised, though Horrific Emblem excellent against those auto attackers because of the attack speed slow that it can provide.
Funny enough, seeing all these Stone of Gaias coming out this week is starting to surprise me a little bit more. Started off with Rival, but it's been something that's been around, but people starting to realize that health regen, actual regeneration, it can be useful for staying in these engagements a little bit longer, or at least not being forced back to base.
Plus, there are a lot of gods that are very strong right now that have knockups in their kit that allows you to get that big burst of health regen from the Sword of Gaia passive. In this game in particular, you're looking at the Ganesha that can knock you up for NRG, and then, of course, Chulainn and Sylvanus have it as well.
Portal Demon started by NRG as the solo lane is still trading, but with Homie showing his face there, bit of a change of tune. Adapting accidentally pulled the Fire Giant there, but it'll be okay for now. Scary's nice and tanky in this lane now. He's not too worried about things. You just saw when he was slightly out of position over that tier 1, he wasn't too worried, but it's given SpaceStation some pressure in tier 1.
Good. Portal Demon a focus again here for NRG. They've got the ward coverage, a little bit of wards there.
That's free.
On the Portal Demon from SpaceStation, but only 3 members there. No one can really contest. Zapman just a little bit too late to the party.
So in essence, it was 1 wave in the mid lane and 1 wave in the left-hand side that was traded for that Portal Demon. Do you think that's worth overall?
Well, if Zap would have committed to pushing down that tower, I think that I actually prefer getting a tier 1 dual lane tower to a Portal Demon at this stage of the game. But with Zap rotating over, only getting 2 solo waves, and no, I don't think it's worth it.
Scary was really struggling to get that last hit on. Ganesha was doing good with those minions to slow that down a little bit, but some gold in the coffers of SpaceStation to answer back at least the Portal Demon so far. And with the tier 1 towers of energy actually looking a little bit worse for wear than usual, it's not a terrible situation.
No, SpaceStation's still in this one, only down about 4,000 gold, but NRG's certainly in the driver's seat because they've got the Chronos coming into the late game. Emil's nearly level 20. He's got a Rod of Tahuti already done.
I was about to say, that's a big concern for me, is generally we always talk about Hunter builds and their cost effectiveness. Well, when the biggest item in a mage's build is generally Rod of Tahuti, and that's online.
It's a good sign already for NRG, and so that's why they're grouping up and sieging.
Scaredy goes in, gets the blink and the ultimate off, but leaps strides back towards safety. Nice pull onto emilitoo, but the Aegis will buy him some time. Keep an eye on the bat that's swinging around the back, and nobody's noticed it just yet. He's going to go into emilitoo. Yammyn, though, will take out Scaredy for the initiation, and now everyone's trying to get away from Homiefe, but he's surrounded and needs some support.
Zap with some good damage there, but Homie's still in trouble, trying to get away from maniaKK, but he hits the slow. Can't hit that 180, but vampiric bats. And Homie likely to fall.
Think if the bats connect there, he might have lived a little bit longer, but NRG coming out top of that fight. Won't continue the pressure there, however. They're going to head back towards the jungle. Quick recall coming out of iRaffer here, and one and you're done. Tier 1 tower, 2 kills, jobs are good.
And that fight looked like it was starting off so well for SpaceStation. I wonder when the last time they played against a Chronos in a competitive setting was, because Emil's Chronos is on another level than just about anybody's, but that is what Chronos does so well. He gets low, he baits himself, oh yeah, come kill me, I'm the big guy that you have to kill, and then I rewind. And all of your stuff is on cooldown. I've got all my cooldowns back,
Fire Giant.
And I'm in a good position.
NRG already pulling this Fire Giant right now. Zapman's on the left-hand side of the map, and Andinster's returning to base. I have a feeling SpaceStation might know this is going on, but they realize they can't do anything about it. Now the Fire Giant dies, they'll get that global notification of it going away, as Andy on the screen just wipes the sweat from his brow and shakes his head.
They're in a tough spot right now. SpaceStation Gaming looking at a 6,000 gold lead, nearly 8,000 experience for NRG, and they just got a Fire Giant as well. ML's only getting stronger. Yammyn is only getting stronger. Adapting is only getting tankier, and that's the sort of style that he's really adapted to and gone for during this gauntlet run here at Super Regionals. Kind of just take it, you know, honestly, if adapting keep more in combat here, he can actually get his team to get a free Phoenix, because look at the right side of the map. Adapting stop Jigz is back, Homie, and Zapman will get back, but not in time to stop the Phoenix. The Gold Fury ended up hurting them even more. Yeah, not a good look there for SpaceStation, though, to be honest, they really did need that gold that the Gold Fury provided them, getting them closer to some power items. I mean, it allowed Zap to get a Deathbringer on that Jing way. It gets Andy a little bit closer to that Rod of Tahuti, so it is a trade-off, but could SpaceStation have even defended that right side Phoenix? You don't really know. Going back to what I was saying about adapting, I really feel like if we just have a zoom-in camera, as Scary D is in real trouble, but the blink gets him out of it a little bit. If we have just zoomed in on adapting throughout this, these last few games for NRG, I could have sworn it was Captain Twig. He seems to have really taken a page out of the way that Captain Twig plays the early game and is around his team and plays the initiator, the facilitator role. And it still has that adapting a little bit of flashy flair to it, but the picks, the builds, the way he's playing the game, it really reminds me of Captain Twig now.
It feels like NRG have done some homework. That's what more than anything. I think NRG this year have struggled with getting to grips with the meta, getting to grips with how Season 4 is played after Season 2 and Season 3. But finally, they've started to put the homework in and found their own niche in it. Obviously, it's very similar to some of the other styles we've seen, but they are putting their own twist on, as you expect from an established team.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not sure that if Obey drafts this composition, that they put Chronos in the duo lane, and that's been a huge deal for NRG in this one. It has that little bit of NRG flair to it. It's got their style, but it's taking what's good from other squads and applying it to their own, and that's how you're successful in just about every walk of life.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to learn from the people who are doing it better than you, but keep it your own style and try to stay successful that way.
Well, 5-man grouping from NRG on the left-hand side now. Keep an eye on the relic of adapting, which is that blink. He's been the one engaging time and time again. The tanks won't be scared to go in, though, as the Dharmic pillars fall down, as does the Phoenix before the fight even starts.
Man, Chronos just shreds those objectives so quickly. I mean, that Phoenix was gone in the blink of an eye, and all NRG had to commit was an ultimate from iRaffer. Now, ML did lose his beads in the midst of that, but Andinster used the Aegis and Jigz used the shell. So you're looking at the relic situation, it still favors NRG.
Now, everybody can just group mid. 5 minutes will be pouring down right soon. There goes Jigz into ult early on, but gets a nice little damage to emilitoo, and he's going to fall down before he can get the rewind off. Scaredy goes in looking for Yammyn, and there the 2 damage dealers are after. Adapting, maniaKK and iRaffer are just on peel duty, keeping the bee alive. And for now, SpaceStation's base will hold, but it has been shredded.
Big deal there that emilitoo, the first one to fall, and now SpaceStation look like they want to continue this chase because Scary's got that blink.
And in goes Zapman too, but the silence is from iRaffer trying to slow them down. iRaffer might sack himself, but he's going to make sure that Zapman has to run away from maniaKK. Homiefe still going in for Yammyn, but the B is doing work. That was a big old fight for the boys of NRG. They take down Homiefe in a 5v3 scenario, I believe there, and maniaKK's going to clean up ScaryD as well.
Honestly, I know it didn't end up working out, but
The idea.
I feel like that's the right idea for SpaceStation. Zap is healthy. Zap has Aegis. Zap has ult. Let's push it because he's got Deathbringer. He's your late game carry, and emilitoo's off the map. That's been the guy that has really caused more problems than anyone for SpaceStation when it comes to damage. I like the idea from SpaceStation to chase him down. Just a little bit of miscommunication there about where maniaKK was and where adapting was, and Zap had a really good individual play from iRaffer. Instead of trying to escape and peel off ScaryD, he recognizes that Zapman is the guy who's going to cause problems for Yammyn on that chase. So let's CC Zapman, set up for maniaKK to get there in time and force him out of the fight. Really good recognition by iRaffer.
And talking about that, that's where NRG have kind of struggled with some of the disengages or engages throughout this year. That's where maniaKK was on the same page as the rest of the team. He came straight in knowing that iRaffer was setting them up nicely for a potential pick on Zap and forcing him out, which kept Yammyn alive. And now NRG is staring down at the next fire giant.
In the player cams, Yammyn's alive, but he's chilling. He doesn't have his hands on the mouse or on the keyboard. He's just relaxing.
To be fair, it's easy when you get a whole team to peel for you, right?
Yeah.
A whole team.
It's not bad.
I wasn't so sure about Yammyn's B, but it's worked out all right from so far. 5, 2, and 5. Obviously, top of the gold charts is definitely that Chronos played by emilitoo, who was left in the solo lane, for the dual lane, for most of the time. Now it's 16,000.
And plenty of player damage from ML, from basically everyone on NRG. They've done a good job of pushing in that damage early and often. And Jigz was the focus for the majority of it, but it was just a constant pressure applied by NRG, which allowed this win to kind of break open.
Well, is it a win? It's looking likely. This is a weakened Phoenix, and emilitoo won't be scared to just swing one auto, just a damage check. Jigz goes in, hits 3. Adapting falls back. maniaKK on the front side, along with iRaffer, who took a lot of damage there, so he'll fall back 2 for the time being. They do have the fire giant, though, and they didn't use too much. I say that, but both relics were used by iRaffer.
So no defensive or offensive relics there for iRaffer with the horrific emblem or the sprint, but it's only going to take a couple autos for Emil to get this Phoenix.
Second initiation from ScaryD, and Homiefe commits too, but Yammyn still had that Aegis up, and Yammyn will absorb most of that damage. ScaryD, however, eats a lot of damage, but he's still alive for a moment until the Stinger hits him in the back of the head from Yammyn. Andinster's ultimate did some work, but not enough to bring them down, and Andy's trying to cause a distraction. He'll get iRaffer, but he won't get the rest of the team. They're focused on the prize at the Phoenix on the right.
And they'll get it. That Titan getting pretty low for SpaceStation as that fire wave coming in from the left-hand side, doing plenty of damage, bringing it down to half HP.
Minions are doing the work for NRG, but that's the work that NRG put in to get to this spot, to get this game, and to give them their 3rd win in the wildcards.
NRG looking like them old selves once more. You don't become 2-time defending world champions without playing really well on land, and there has been no doubt, basically from the get-go, for any of NRG's games about who the better team was.
So what went wrong for SpaceStation there? I mean, picks and bans, the Des was saying as well, the picks and bans weren't terrible at all. They looked pretty solid. What went wrong?
They just got outclassed, in my mind. I think NRG just across the board looked like better players today. I mean, SpaceStation, still a little bit too passive for my liking, but that's their play style, so you can't fault them for going with what they're comfortable with and what they've done all split long. For me, it's just that NRG had 5 better players on the field.
And with how that goes now, NRG are up to 3 wins so far. They've only got 2 games remaining. Like we said, 4 should be a soft spot to be safe, and it's looking pretty solid, especially because Elevate are causing problems elsewhere for some of the teams that you expected to be in the top 2.
Yeah, Elevate is causing a lot of problems for a lot of teams. It isn't just in these group stages. They caused a lot of problems for Obey as well, and teams that are about to play Elevate need to pay attention to what Obey did in order to win that set. It's crazy that so many teams got to watch that set and then didn't take from what Obey learned and applied to win that set. It's the same mistakes that really should not be happening.
And funny enough, I think NRG versus Elevate is one of the final games for NRG, so they don't really have to worry too much about beating them. If, you know, Elevate go on and do their thing and NRG do their thing, it's a done deal.
They could just meet up and like high five or something instead, because they might by that time they might be the two teams coming out of the wild cards.
Really, really good work there coming out from NRG, and SpaceStation Gaming now slipping to 0-2. So uphill battle from here. They've still got 3 more wins, though, correct? So they could get 3 wins.
They need to win the next 3. I mean, SpaceStation cannot afford to lose another game, and they've played 2 of the harder competitions in Europe for sure. I don't believe they've played Dignitas yet, and that's going to be one. You know, what Dignitas is going to show up? I don't even know what year it is. You know, like what is it? The old Orbit roster that didn't show up, and you never know. You know what Jekyll and Hyde team is going to show up for them. Remember, Homiefe last year was about to go to Worlds, about to play a Trix Tank and Cuvo Fred team that had looked awful all year, all Super Regionals long, and then the real Orbit showed up and took away that world spot. It might end up being the same.
Will Trix do it again? We'll find out. We're going to go to the desk to break this one down.
The bagpipes get me every time.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the desk. I'm Tom Pattinger, joined here by Anatoly Alexeyev and, of course, Mask.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Good, man.
How you feeling, man? You're going to Sunday regional champions.
Yeah, I think we can win, but it's going to be really good because we Screaming United all the time, and they're such a good team. So, yeah, I'm excited, though.
Now it's your time to poop talk them.
Nah, I don't want to. If I poop talk, then I'll get snooped, and I don't want
Oh, that's true.
That's the key there. You guys have, like you said, you guys have scrimmed them a lot and played. That's all well and good. How's it feel going to Worlds, man?
I'm really excited. I feel like Bera and Jeff, like whatever team they're on, they always put up a fight. They always like contest, like almost winning or winning because they've won one. So yeah, maybe we can do it again. We'll see.
I think you guys certainly look really good. But this last one, SpaceStation Gaming versus NRG, talk about looking good. NRG certainly turns things around here. During the regular season, we saw them slide and slip and, well, just kind of fall off spring, summer, picking up steam slowly into fall. And then this land specifically, they kind of are crushing it.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's like they're coming in and they have no worries. There's no games that they lost. There's no best of fives they lost. They're just coming in relaxed. But the other teams, they've lost best of fives. They're a little tilted. They can't really get those games out of their head, and it just looks like they're beating everyone.
They've been together the longest out of most of these other teams, or at least the core 4 outside of Dimmy leaving now with maniaKK. And this time I feel, despite their poor, lackluster performance set to NRG standards, every time they're at LAN, they've been through the ringer. They know how to play from behind, and, you know, God forbid if they get ahead, they're just never going to let go.
Well, you know, you're sitting out there in the pit with that Mask, and a lot of people, myself included, have been saying how much different the attitude is from these guys at this LAN after a couple of wins. I mean, NRG, you've been to LANs with these guys, and they're kind of low-key a lot of time, but not this LAN, not this time around.
No, they're ready. They're raring to go. They want to win. They want to make it to Worlds. They're trying to get a three-peat.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, this is a team that, like you said, they won last year and the year before, and here they are not even straight up qualifying into Super Regionals. They had to go the hard way, and then not even showing up, you know, in the semifinals. They have to go the hard way again. But like I said, just completely different. Just as a player yourself, what do you think it has, from the outside looking in, what do you think changed about NRG going from where they were to where they are now?
It got a little too close for comfort. They realized, hey, we got to step this up. We can't lose. We got to get the 3-0. They got to win Worlds again. And I'm honestly thinking they have a good shot at it because I don't know. There's a lot of good teams though. Like I think Rival has Obey. I feel like even NA teams have a chance. Like even though no one thinks we do, but you know, what are you gonna do?
I mean, you gotta have faith in yourself. Totally. How about you? What do you think the change for NRG has been?
I mean, it doesn't hurt the fact that they got their comfort picks, right? Chronos for ML, adapting on the Serqet. I mean, what more could you really want for NRG?
I don't know. That's pretty much it. Like it's like what you want to play, and they got it. Like they're ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Chronos selection at the last moment was, that was beautiful. PBM called it. Everybody at the desk was like, NRG want Chronos here, don't they? And then they just lock it in. We were like, uh-oh. That's going to be a big deal. Emilitoo, there he is, getting up the kills on the Chronos. I mean, the Chronos 1, 2, and 5, but the damage came through, and really what it comes down to is the control that he's able to bring.
And it's not necessarily the damage or the KDA that he has or doesn't have. It's more about what he baits for his teammates. He's basically the primal target for SpaceStation to want to take out, and with that rewind, just no opportunity to get the kills that they wanted to.
Yeah, it was like an all-in for him. If they get him, they win the game. If they don't, they win the other team wins the game. NRG wins, yeah.
And when you look at the draft that SpaceStation Gaming had, I mean, SpaceStation had the Raijin, who's not going to one-shot you, right? They just didn't have that one-shot potential, and I think that kind of hurt them as they faced into the Chronos, which I don't think they planned on.
And I think that what hurt them the most about the Raijin was Andinster getting first blooded, obviously. I don't think they necessarily anticipated the fast rotation from Serqet.
Yeah, adapting was everywhere. He killed Scary. He went middle. He kept picking Jigz off. It was interesting though because they were giving up 1-for-1s, right? They were killing AMC and they were killing Sylv. One team was killing the other, and Yammyn played it so well later on. Like those deaths didn't get to him. He got 4 kills like uncontested, and they kept picking Jigz off. You know, and they had a really easy time at golds, and that's how they won.
Yammyn has been sort of the cornerstone for this team for a long time. Recently, I think people started noticing, you know, he won his World's MVP once upon a time, and he has had his time in the spotlight. But a lot of times, it's the other guys on the squad doing the heavy lifting, as I say, and Yammyn just quietly in the middle, keeping everything together.
His God pool is just so flexible. Once
huge.
that Muzen was picked, you can never really expect, is this going to be for Yammyn? Is this for Emil? Keep in mind that it was normally the Chiron that Yammyn brought whenever he normally played Hunters consistently. He also has a very nasty Zeus when he brought it out in Season 2 in that Cloud9 set.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing when it comes to Yammyn that I think impresses me the absolute most is that you can a lot of times you look at a player like Death Panther, and he's a hunter player in the middle lane, right? And then you look at a player maybe like Pretty Prime that's a traditional mage player and might flex out to a hunter occasionally, but you know where they're going to lean, you know where they're going to go. Yammyn, I mean, honestly, if he showed up playing Naja mid, I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. He's just that guy that he can play literally whatever he wants, and I think that's really important for NRG going forward because not everybody on that squad can. We've seen Adapting try and do the tanky thing, but he just excels as the natural assassin, and that kind of is troublesome in a meta like this. How do you think Adapting has survived here as a jungler yourself? You know, in a world where everybody started to shift tanky, and Adapting was like, please just let me be an assassin.
Yeah, he had a lot of like rough time when it came to playing warriors. They're really aggressive early games, but as time went on, assassins became much better. Like items like Titan's Bane got buffed, items like Heartseeker got buffed, and these items make assassins much more viable. And when assassins are viable, Kennet is his deadliest.
And I think it's also about taking the team fights a little bit, or at least the 2v2 skirmishes early on before everyone gets so tanky, right? You want to get your solo jungle ahead early on, try to lean a little bit more on those buffs.
Yeah, for sure. They're just looking to get kills. He wants to get those kills early, make sure he kills them before they get like really tanky, yeah.
Yeah,